Oh, happy day, y'all. Our Grizzly is here. Took about a week to arrive from the time the shipping notice was sent to me. Thankfully, we have nice UPS drivers around here. He came down and knocked on my door. Oh, yeah. Let me get it from the bottom. Woo. The last time I got one of these, we kind of just slid it down the steps.
You sure?
Yeah. Yeah, it's here now. I'll be gentle with it. Appreciate you knocking, man. Thank you so much.
You want me to push it in or you got it?
I got it. You need me to sign?
No, I already got you.
Cool. Thanks, man. Take care. Drive safe. Oh, yeah. Box is a little beat up. Not too bad. Got a little hole there. Right here. Just the handle there. Not too bad. Oh, tired. Getting old. I'm gonna drag this thing inside. I'm gonna get this unboxing rolling. See y'all in a bit. Hey, what's up everyone? We got a really fun one for you today. We're super stoked to be unboxing and assembling our new V2 Ariel Rider Grizzly. This is an all-wheel drive beast of a bike, and we're so excited to finally have one. We just got it a couple of days ago, and oh, by the way, it only took us 7 days to get it from the time we received the shipping info until it was delivered to our door. So if you're unfamiliar with the Grizzly, I'll give you a quick rundown. This bike easily could have been called a dually because it seems to have two of everything. It's got two 1000 watt steel geared Bafang motors with an 1850 peak watt. It also has two 52 volt batteries that combine for a massive 35 amp hours of juice with an estimated range of 75 miles, and you know we're gonna test that on this channel. The Ariel Rider Grizzly can go for days and days if you have a relatively short commute. Okay, so it also has two controllers, one for each motor, and it also has front and rear dual adjustable suspension. And it can even carry two people, although you would need the optional long saddle, which will hopefully be available again soon. So all of that adds up to an e-bike that can get you up pretty much any hill and has a maximum speed of a little over 35 miles per hour. Keep in mind that Ariel Rider ships their bikes with a 20 mile per hour speed limiter, which allows it to meet Class 2 e-bike regulations. I've linked the video down below where you can learn how to max out the speed limit. However, if you do max out your speed, please make sure to abide by Class 3 e-bike regulations in your state or city. All right, so enough talk. Let's get this beast out of the box, put it together, and see what it can do. Okay, the first order of business is obviously to get the bike out of the box. It's best to have another person help you lift it up and out. However, my friend didn't feel like helping, so I laid the box down and slid the bike out. If you decide to go this route, please avoid scratching your floor. This entire package weighs 127 pounds, and the bike itself with batteries weighs 105. I don't recommend destroying the box to get the bike out, just in case you need to exchange or return it for whatever reason. Also, be mindful that the front wheel and handlebars do not come installed. They are zip tied to the bike, so keep that in mind as you pull the bike out. The bike is very well packaged and has tons of styrofoam and zip ties to remove. For assembly, you'll need some pliers or scissors to cut the zip ties. I don't suggest using a razor just to avoid any accidental damage. The included toolkit and a bike tire pump. If possible, try to document your unboxing and assembly just in case anything arrives damaged. Quick videos or photos with your phone should help speed up any support requests. Next, let's see everything that's included in the box along with the bike. First, you get two chargers, since you have two batteries. It would have been nice to have one charger that can charge both batteries simultaneously, but considering the heat that would generate, I can see why they went with two separate chargers. You also get a nice pair of aluminum pedals. The left pedal has a reverse thread, which we'll cover later. Next up are the retractable foot pegs. These are intended for a sitting passenger and not to carry the full weight of an adult. This small bag includes fasteners you'll need for assembly and some extras as well. There's also some touch-up paint included, which Ariel Rider provides with all their e-bikes. They even include a good old-fashioned paper instruction manual. This is the warranty registration card. Okay, next, let's see what's inside of the included toolkit. You'll get 3 combination wrenches, a 13 and 15 millimeter, 17 and 19 millimeter, and the 8 and 10 millimeter is included as well. There's also a reversible screwdriver that has both Phillips and flathead sides. They also include a set of 5 L-shaped metric hex keys. Okay, next we have the front fender, which can actually go on either way. However, the correct way is to have this side face the rear and the shorter side facing the front. Keep in mind that the keys are to remove the batteries and not to start the bike. Last but not least, we have the headlight, which has a really sharp split halo that adds a really nice modern touch. All right, now that we've covered the unboxing and accessories, let's move right into the assembly. First step, handlebars. Loosen the stem bolts, rotate the stem around, and make sure it's nice and centered. Remove the stem cap bolts and then pop off the stem cap. Bring the handlebars up, place them into the stem, pop the stem cap on, and then start all of the bolts by hand to avoid cross-threading. This groove section here can help you center the handlebars. Next, begin tightening the stem cap bolts in an X pattern to maintain even gaps on all sides. Now you can position the handlebars to your liking. Once you're satisfied, go ahead and tighten all of the stem cap bolts. Tighten the stem bolts and the handlebars are all set. Next step is to install the front wheel. Go ahead and cut the zip ties to free the brake caliper. I suggest putting a thick blanket down to protect the bike and your floors. Now you can slide the front wheel out and then remove both batteries to reduce weight so it's easier to flip the Grizzly over. This is a good spot to wedge the caliper before you flip the bike over. Now squeeze the right brake lever to engage the rear brake and carefully walk backwards to pull the front of the bike up and over. Carefully set it down on the handlebars and position it so the entire bike is on the blanket. Next, remove the torque arm screws. We'll cover the torque arm shortly. Now's a perfect time to go over the bike and check for any damaged or cross-threaded bolts. Also, check the clamps on the front forks for any damage that may have occurred during shipping. With the bike upside down, it's also much easier to access the saddle bolts if you plan on installing an aftermarket seat. The kickstand is adjustable, but I suggest leaving it in its most extended position. Next, let's grab our front wheel for installation. But first, let's go over the torque arms. There are 2 versions of torque arms. The one on the left is the updated version. Torque arms are critical to prevent the powerful motor from spinning and damaging the notches in the forks. Please contact Ariel Rider if your Grizzly shipped with the older version. This washer has a notch that fits into the axle grooves of the forks. This reinforces where the axle and the forks are fastened together. Make sure to install this washer with the notch on the same side as the motor cable. The ends of the forks have small notches as well. Those notches fit into these cutouts in the torque arm. I swear, these torque arms look like something I've seen before. Rusty didn't even flinch. Okay, now we have both washers on the axles. Rotate and center the fork ends. Then grab your wheel and gently slide it onto the forks until it bottoms out on both sides. Next, install the torque arms so the circular holes line up with the threaded holes in the forks, and then screw in the bolts. Tighten both torque arms now, as it will be difficult to do so if the axle nuts are tightened first. Okay, once that's done, you can install both of the axle nuts and then tighten them with the included 19mm wrench. It's highly recommended to check your axle nuts between rides, especially with a new e-bike. If your final result matches this, then you're all set and ready to install the brake caliper. The first thing you should do with your brakes is to wipe the rotors clean with alcohol. This removes all the dirt and grime they've collected since the bike was assembled. Not doing this will reduce the effectiveness of bedding the brake pads, which you can learn about by watching the video above. Ariel Rider even includes extra zip ties, which was helpful since I was missing one in this spot right here. Next, remove the caliper bolts, then remove the orange spacer. With the spacer gone, the caliper and pads should slide right onto the rotor. Now you can reinstall the caliper bolts and tighten them with the included hex key. Thankfully, the brake pads aren't rubbing, but I'll show you how to center them in case yours do. Loosen the caliper bolts just enough so the caliper can slide in and out. Squeeze and hold the front brake lever. This will center the brake pads and eliminate any rubbing. Keeping the lever squeezed, tighten the caliper bolts, and you're all set. Next, let's secure and connect the motor cable. Tighten the bracket bolts, then connect the harness to the motor. If unsure, there are arrows that help you line up the connectors. Alright, next let's get the pedals installed. Each pedal is labeled for the side it attaches to. The right pedal has normal threads, and the left one has reverse threads, meaning you screw it on counterclockwise. We'll start by putting the right one on first. Screw it in by hand, and then use the included 15mm wrench to tighten it. Now let's get the left pedal on. Since it's reverse threaded, you have to screw it in counterclockwise since you pedal counterclockwise with your left leg. Tighten it with the 15mm wrench and you're all set on the pedals. Next, we can move on to the headlight installation. The mounting points on the headlight fit snugly on the bracket. The easiest way to get it on is by starting with the narrow side and sliding it down. Now take the included bag of extra fasteners and grab 2 bolts, 2 nuts, and 2 washers. Determine how you want the headlight positioned, then install the nuts and bolts and get them started by hand before tightening them with the included tools. Alright, let's install the front fender next. As mentioned earlier, this side should point towards the front and this side towards the rear. Grab the long bolt along with a nut and 2 washers. This bracket on the headlight attaches to the mounting point on the frame. Once lined up, insert the bolt and washer and get the nut started on the other side. Tighten with the included tools and the fender is good to go. Next, let's get the foot pegs on. Start by removing the bolts from the frame, then insert them into the pegs and attach them back onto the frame. Start them by hand and then tighten with the included tools. Now we can flip the bike back over and insert the mandatory headlight peel. Next, you'll want to connect all of the color-coordinated cables on the handlebars and adjust the screen. Make sure to do this with the batteries off and never turn the bike on with any of these connectors unplugged. The LED control screen can be adjusted in 3 different ways. You can slide it left and right, and it can even fit a phone next to it if that's your preference. It also adjusts up and down, and the screen can pivot away from and towards you. Once you find your desired position, tighten all of the fasteners and you're all set. Last steps before our first ride is to make sure our tires are inflated within specs and to do a final check of the brakes and handlebar alignment and to make sure all of the fasteners are tight. The front shock dampening can be adjusted by turning these knobs. However, the rear shocks require a shock wrench to adjust the spring tension and a shock pump to adjust the dampening. Screw on and secure the valve end of the tool and set each shock to half your body weight as a rule of thumb. Okay riders, our Grizzly is fully assembled. We double checked all of our fasteners and connectors, inflated our tires to spec, and made sure that our brakes are nice and centered. Almost ready for adventure, but first we want to take a quick ride to ensure our Grizzly is ready to tackle anything. There's 2 things we need to accomplish on this first ride. First, we need to bed our brake pads. This is a process that helps your new rotors and brake pads operate as quietly and efficiently as possible. If you're not familiar with this process, please see the video above which explains it in further detail. Additionally, we'll also use this first ride to ensure that all fasteners and components remain secure and tightened. With a new bike, fasteners that appear tightened may become loose while riding. All of these new components that are now meshing and working together may become loose during the first ride. The main ones to focus on are the axle nuts, caliper bolts, kickstand, stem, and handlebars. While I plan on tightening these after I get home, I'm going to take the included toolkit with me just in case something becomes dangerously loose during the first ride. As a matter of fact, it's always a good idea to carry tools with you while riding because you never know what might happen. If any of our videos helped you decide on an Ariel Rider, please use our link below when purchasing your bike, as it will help our channel and get Rusty lots and lots of tasty treats. And if you do buy a bike, please leave a comment down below and let us know what you picked because we'd love to hear which one you decided on. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful. We have tons of V2 Grizzly content coming your way, as well as some new bikes on the horizon. On that note, I'm gonna head out and get this first ride out of the way. Rusty, you're gonna have to stay home because I'm just not accustomed to this bike yet. Is that okay? Yeah. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. And as always, hang loose, ride tight, and be nice to each other. Peace.